Shalom Yasharala. I hope all is well. I was thinking yesterday about this whole Trump charade, and I said in the last video, I mentioned, what he was being charged with, and I mentioned the name of the lady that he paid hush money to. And yesterday I was thinking about her name, Stormy Daniels. And a long time ago, I made a video around the beginning of this whole deal when the spirit of Elijah was poured out. And I made videos, I talked about that. What did Elijah do? He fought against Baal priest, Isabel. And right before this whole thing started, they marched around the arch, what they call it, the Arch of Triumph, or the, I can't think of the name of the town, but it's a Baal arch, is what it was. They said that ISIS destroyed it, and as a sign of defiance that the Western countries would fight to keep art or whatever. I don't even know what they said. It was stupid, but I put it in the videos. I showed Boris Johnson unveiling it. They did it. They marched it around to all these big cities like London, New York, that Arch of Palmyra. That's what they called it, the Arch of Palmyra. It's not Palmyra. Palmyra is where the big Baal temple was, where all this Christmas and shit started, basically. Well, when they did that, they changed the abortion laws, like in, I think it was Virginia, where it was like pretty much partial birth abortion. Like they were murdering the children after they come out, after the woman being pregnant for 9 months. So a lot of my videos back then, and a lot of what I was fighting against, and a lot of other men I seen set apart men were fighting against, was this spirit of Jezebel, these Baal priests, this abortion, this baby murdering society. And that's what we were fighting against. Well, I did some research into Baal, and it says that he rides in the whirlwind. That Baal rides in the whirlwind, right? And if you remember when George Bush Jr. was inaugurated, he said, "Don't you know that an angel rides in the whirlwind?" And from that moment on, it was like Baal everything. And if you remember, Trump, when he was in the White House and he had all his generals and everybody in there, and he said, "This reminds me of the calm before the storm." They keep saying storm, right? Well, I was thinking about her name yesterday, Stormy Daniels. And I just thought that was odd that her name is Stormy, right? And then I thought about her last name being Daniels. So I went into Daniel. Let me show you what I found. First of all, though, let's get this verse of the day, because it's the verse that I always say to myself when I'm doing anything. I've said this before. Therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the esteem of Abba Yahuwah. When a couple nights ago, I think it was Thursday night, I was going to hit the record button, and I got thinking about how huge the message is in Ezekiel chapter 34 and 33. and how the only people who will survive are those who do not touch any paganry whatsoever. And I got nervous thinking about how, I don't feel pressure to get on here. I want to do it all to esteem Abba Yahuwah always. And that's why I should have hit the record button on Thursday night. But I'm going to be honest, I've never really been so nervous to hit the record button as I was that night, because I had read chapter 34 and 35 of Ezekiel, and the verse of the day that day was in James chapter 4. I read James chapter 4, and I'm going to be honest, it had me so scared for the people. Like, not scared or afraid of what's going to happen, but what's going to happen to these people and how they don't know it. And I couldn't hit the record. I just couldn't do it that night. I don't know why. But I should have did it, and I should have did all things as unto Abba Yahuwah, to give him all esteem. And that's what we're doing right now. So let's go look in Daniel. I found where it says whirlwind, like a storm, like he said, like it says in the Wikipedia about Baal, is that he rides in the whirlwind. And Job is a good book to read at this time that we're in. But look at what the only spot, if you type in Daniel in storm or Daniel in whirlwind, this is what you're going to find down here in verse 40. At the time of the end, the sovereign of the south shall push at him, and the sovereign of the north shall rush against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter the lands and shall overflow and pass through. But right here, just like Abba, in verse 41, is where the real meat is here. 41. And shall enter the splendid land, and many shall stumble, but these escape from his hand, Edom, Moab, and the chief of the sons of Ammon. Now, whether you want to believe this or not, hopefully you figure this out sooner rather than later. But if it's like the last second, right before you're about to meet your demise, if you come to the understanding that I'm in America, the United States, this is the splendid land, okay? If that comes to you, hopefully, even if it's at the last second, and you see the truth in that, out by Moab, and where Edom is, and where we've went over this, where these locations are, the chief sons of Ammon. If you look where the face of the woman is, out in Washington and Oregon and Idaho, in her womb, it's nothing but mountain ranges. And if you look at the map of the U.S., it's the only safe spot that you're going to find on the continent where you could find refuge, where you could find an escape. Abba showed me that. He's been showing me that. And like I said, hopefully you figure this out sooner rather than later. Whenever you figure it out, that's where you need to go. Abba willing, that's where I'll be. And look, you can argue and debate whether this is the land or not, but when the men from the east start to invade this country, and you see that that's on its way, just like I do, if you're watching, therefore, when they start showing up, out there is going to be your escape. And even if you don't see it until you get there, once you get there and you see that that's the truth, hallelujah. So the reason he's talking about, the reason her name is Stormy Daniels, this is all It's all a stage. It's called political theater. They don't lie to you, really, anymore. They put the truth out there, and you just got to know where to look for it and how to find it. There's a reason her name's Stormy Daniels. There's a reason why Trump said this is the calm before the storm. And they brought Baal archers around and started upping the abortion laws and all that kind of stuff. There's a reason. That's why he said, the Most High said that in the end he would pour out the spirit of Elijah. Most people who don't want to have any understanding of what the word says, they, like the people who leave the bread out for Elijah on the Passover, they think that was meaning that Elijah's ghost would be running around doing something. That's not. The spirit of Elijah, the reason he said the spirit of Elijah, he would cause men to fight back against Jezebel, Baal worship. And that's how my whole, if you want to call it a mission, started. It started out with Abba putting such a conviction on me to speak up about abortion. And not just the way the mainstream media talked about it or what you see from the news, but to hit it at its base, at its core, the origins of it, the foundation of it, in which through this mission, through this journey, all praise, all honor, all glory, and all esteem to Abba Yahuwah the Most High, he showed me how that's all, I hate to even say related, because it's all Christianity. Christianity going back through all the way to Babylon, ancient Babylon, mystery Babylon, the whore of Babylon. It all creates Baal worship. That's what it is. So the reason her name is Stormy Daniels is because if you read in here chapter 11 and chapter 12, it's all, the whole battle is against the set apart people. Go read it. We got to get Ezekiel, but go read in Daniel chapter 11, chapter 12. Do your own due diligence, your own work. Roll your sleeves up. Not all the way, but if you read in there, you're going to see that the battle is against the set apart people. And I've been telling you that from the beginning, that the whole COVID thing was them. And I got the proof, all the pudding you want. I got the PDF, I got the files. You can find all this stuff out through the Freedom of Information Act. Anything you want to know, basically. They can't hide it. They don't want to, because they know people ain't looking. But if you go look, that was, they called it FunVax, the fundamental vaccination, where they were going against fundamental religious people, they said. But that's not what it was. They put it in the air, the water, the food, and in the jabs to fight against the stronghold of strongholds, that which is continual. That means, we've been talking about Brother Daoud showed us what the secret place was, that's your mind, that there's no one can enter that. That's the secret place. And that was the reason, that stronghold is what they're battling against. They are afraid of the 144. And they're trying to do all they can to destroy it. But we all know they're imbeciles, because it's never going to work. So let's go get chapter 34 of Ezekiel. I hope you go read Daniel and James chapter 4. All of this. Let's see what Ezekiel chapter 34 is talking about. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Yasharallah. Prophesy and say to them, Thus said the Master Yahuwah to the shepherds, Woe to the shepherds of Yasharal who have been feeding themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flock? That's so kindergarten. That's so elementary that any of you guys should see right away who that's talking about. People at churches and assemblies bring money and give it to the pastor. They come with desire and hunger. The pastor takes the money, and regardless of I don't know what they spend it on, but most of them you can see wearing Gucci, driving Lamborghinis. Is that not the truth? But actually, the people, the poor, sweethearted people who come and give their last dollar to these scumbags, the scumbags should be giving them their money. And it should be the other way around. When they come, they should be passing out offering plates full of those $100 bills and saying, here you go. Take what you need. That's the way it should be, right here. Should not the shepherds feed the flock? And what it's really meaning here is these shepherds, they don't give the flock no food, no truth, no word. You eat the fat and you put on the wool. You slaughter the fatlings. You do not feed the flock. They slaughter the fatlings. That means I was a fatling when I was young and just desperate to find my way, and I'd be down at the altar just sobbing, looking for help. They gave me nothing. They slaughtered. They attempted to slaughter me. All praise to Abba Yahuwah. He called me out of all this falsehood. Hallelujah. And that's why you need to understand this message and see how important it is. It's life or death that you stay away from those churches and those pastors who are feeding themselves, and any idol worship, any flags, any holidays that's not prescribed. If it's not a feast day that's prescribed by Abba Yahuwah the Most High, don't touch it. And don't even be friends with it. Go read James chapter 4. We're not to be friends with these things. These things that were built on the blood of babies. How many times do I have to remind you? That star. You can't even, you shouldn't, it ain't enough that you don't say nothing about these things or have nothing to do with them. You should be like me, speaking out against them. Not your friend, your mortal enemy. That's what they should be. You have not strengthened the weak, nor have you healed the sick, nor bound up the broken, nor brought back the straying, nor sought what was lost. But you have ruled them with might and harshness. Might and harshness. Whether they know it or not, they've had rule and authority over these people who come to their congregations and give them their money. They've gave them no food. They've led them astray, which is ruling with might and harshness. And they were scattered because there was no shepherd. And they became food for all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. A beast it's a group, it's an entity. It could be a government, it could be a church. Any kind of organization that's did them in, led them astray, whether intentionally or not. But I'm really finding it hard to believe that there's no intention in most of these churches, if not all of them. Because these people claim to be scholars. They went to Bible college and they don't know the truth. They sell them, they feed them lies because they know that's what the people want to hear. They want their ears tickled, and they're going to keep tickling until their end, I guess. My sheep wandered through all the mountains. Remember I told you, Messiah said, if you have the faith of the size of a mustard seed, you could tell that mountain to boom. The mountain he's talking about, the mountain the Most High is talking about right here in verse 6, is these monumental, seemingly insurmountable falsehood blind spots these people have. Like Messiah and the Father are one. Like, do what thou will. Prosperity. There's a bunch of them. And on every high hill, and my sheep were scattered over all the face of the earth, and no one was seeking or searching for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yahuwah. As I live, declares the Master Yahuwah, because my flock became a prey, and my flock became food for every beast of the field, from not having a shepherd, and my shepherds did not search for my flock, but the shepherds fed themselves and did not feed my flock. Therefore, O shepherds, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am against the shepherds, and shall require my flock at their hand, and shall make them cease feeding the sheep, and the shepherds shall feed themselves no more. And I shall deliver my flock from their mouths, and they shall no longer be food for them. For thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I myself shall search for my sheep and seek them out. Just what I was just talking about. Thank you, Abba. Hallelujah, Yahuwah. All praise, all honor, all glory, and all esteem to you. As a shepherd seeks out his flock on the day he is among his scattered sheep, so I shall seek out my sheep and deliver them from all the places where they were scattered in a day of cloud and thick darkness. And I shall bring them out from the peoples and gather them from the lands and shall bring them to their own land. And I shall feed them on the mountains of Yasharallah, in the valleys and in all the dwellings of the land. On the mountains of Yasharallah, that's them instructions. They like to say, oh, of old. No, they ain't old. They're up to date. They're current, and they're the only things current. And that's do the will of the Most High, His will. Basically, like love your neighbor, love the Most High with all your strength and all your might. Do not murder, do not steal, do not, you know the routine. I ain't got to tell you. That's the mountains of Yasharallah. And good pasture I shall feed them, and their fold shall be on the high mountains of Yasharallah. They shall lie there in a good fold and feed in rich pasture on the mountains of Yasharallah. I shall feed my flock and make them lie down, declares the Master Yahuwah. Make them lie down. So I'm not scared one bit for my safety. That's not why I couldn't hit the record button the other day. Abba made me realize just how imminent this all is. I told you about the Daigle report. And between now and 2025, the population of this country is supposed to go down 2/3. More. It's going to disappear. And don't act like you don't see that coming. Don't act like you don't know that's what's in the cards. Their little Illuminati card game. Pun intended. It's on its way. I shall seek out the lost and bring back the strayed, and I shall bind up the broken and strengthen what was sick. But the fat and the strong I shall destroy, I shall feed them with right ruling. Next time, if you got it going on, and next time you go to look down your nose at someone who don't, just remember, the meek, the humble, the brokenhearted, the contrite, the crushed in spirit, are the only people who are going to survive, because they're the only people who give it all to Abba Yahuwah. They give him all esteem. Yeah, like I've said it so many times, he's jealous. He wants to be your corner. He wants to be your man. And if you got someone else that you go to and vent to and cry on their shoulder, you ain't doing it on his. You can't even see him the way he needs you to, the way you need to survive. That's why he says only, capital letters, only the crushed in spirit, the brokenhearted, the poor, the meek, the needy are going to survive. If you ain't in that category and your head's high and your chest is poked out, bye-bye. And as for you, O my flock, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am judging between sheep and sheep, between rams and goats. It is not Is it not enough for you to have eaten up the good pasture, and the rest of your pasture you trample with your feet? Or that you should drink of the clear waters, and the rest you muddy with your feet? You see, the clear waters is the truth. And these pastors muddy it with their feet because they have to tickle the ears to keep the money coming, feeding themselves. If that's you, if you're a pastor, in the time, anytime, but definitely today, stop taking money from anybody. Stop worrying about buildings. Go out in your sandals and spread the gospel, the good news of Abba Yahuwah to the world. Quit worrying about microphones and cameras and attendees. All you need to worry about is all esteem. And as for my flock, they eat what you have trampled with your feet, and they drink what you have muddied with your feet. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah to them, see, I myself shall judge between fat and lean sheep, because you have pushed with flank and shoulder, worked them to death, and thrust at all the weak ones with your horns, with your microphones, and your platforms. You've thrust at them and scattered them abroad. Therefore I shall save my flock, and let them no longer be a prey. And I shall judge between sheep and sheep, and I shall raise up I shall raise up over them one shepherd, my servant David, and he shall feed them, and be their shepherd. And I, Yahuwah, shall be their most high, and my servant David a prince in their midst. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. And I shall make a covenant of peace with them, and make evil beasts cease from the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the forest. And I shall make them the places all around my hill a blessing, and shall cause showers to come down in their season. Showers of blessing they are. And the trees of the field shall yield their fruit, and the earth yield her increase, and they shall be safe in their land. And they shall know that I am Yahuwah, when I have broken the bars of their yoke. And I shall deliver them from the hand of those who enslave them. And they shall no longer be a prey for the nations, and the beasts of the earth shall not devour them. And they shall dwell safely, with no one to make them afraid. And I shall raise up for them a planting place of name, and they shall no longer be consumed by hunger in the land. No more are we going to hunger for the truth, the truthful words, that two-edged sword, that understanding, that intimacy. No longer. No longer will there be a wall built with the sons of Babylon carved on the sides of it. No longer shall there be paganry across our thresholds. It'll be in the grave. Nor bear the shame of the nations anymore. And they shall know that I, Yahuwah, their Most High, am with them, and that they, the house of Yasharallah, are my people, declares the Master Yahuwah. And you, my flock, the flock of my pasture, are men, and I am your Most High, declares Abba Yahuwah, the Most High, our wonderful Creator. Do your due diligence, man. This is only, all that you see around you is only going to intensify. It's only going to get worse. They're talking about the inflation going up because the Feds raised the interest rate. All kinds of matters of the black horse and his rider who holds those scales in his hands. You know, it's all about money and inflation right now. That's why at first the white horse took off, then the red horse of war took off. Now this black horse of famine, pestilence, whatever, he's riding. And they're not going to stop riding until it's over with. It ain't just a consecutive, they do their damage, first the white horse, then he goes away. No, they're all going to be riding around. And you know which one comes next. The pale horse of death. It's coming. I told you the population projection by Daigle, a government company, analysis company, predicts that the population of a lot of these Western countries, especially America, is going to go down by 1/3. It said that in 2017, they were at 365 million. By 2024, the end of 2024, it'll be at 100 million, they predict. They predict that back then, the government, the military budget was like 300, billion or something. A massive amount. And by 2024, 2025, it'll be like 30 billion. Their GDP, everything's just going to drop and go completely out. They knew this was going to happen. That's why it was in that projection analysis. That's why all this stuff happens just the way the Bible says it will. They're following the same script. And it's not going away. We are in the end days. Wake up. The Messiah said it'll be just like the days of Noah. People ain't going to have a clue. They're going to be partying, living life just like they always do, to feed themselves. Not really feeding themselves on the word of Abba Yahuwah, the Most High. And that's the only way you're going to live, is if you feed and live on the word of Abba Yahuwah. Next time, chapter 35. For now, D's out.